If that's the funky music, it is time to bring them back. We're bringing sexy back here with this year's confidence picks for this week one. It is year 3 of this competition here on the channel. I'm Steve Deace, he's Aaron McIntyre. We're from Bigger 10. So I won this 2 years ago. Aaron, you won this a year ago.
Yep.
So now there's the rubber match. You've added a little spice component here. Tell us about it.
So we have had some weeks in confidence picks where there will be some variance, but generally those variances in picks, so I pick an upset or I have someone ranked way above where you do, those tend to kind of work themselves out over the season, and you come up with kind of a homogenized or kind of same result at the end of the season. So in order to spice things up and add more variance, this year, in addition to our confidence picks, which we assign 11 points this week since there's 11 Big Ten involved games. 11 points, so that's our most confident. We're putting 11 points on that. Down to 1 point, that's our least confident outcome. We are also picking one game against the spread or total. And if you hit on that bonus selection, you gain 7 points. But if you miss, you lose 7 points. So you could have a great week in confidence picks. Go, maybe 7-4, something like that. 8-3 like it is this week, but if you miss on your bonus pick, which is against the spread betting, you could lose basically everything that you gained.
A Big Ten game against the spread.
And it has to be a Big Ten game.
So
against
basically,
the spread.
we're putting our own best bet in there. Is what we're doing each week.
Yep, that's what we're doing. So this week and throughout the rest of the season, Steve, we will always begin with your confidence picks.
All right, here we go. My 11-point game is Maryland over Towson. I mean, why are you even playing them? My 10-point game is Michigan over East Carolina. And I'm telling you, though, and we'll get to more of this later, Michigan's going to play a lot of guys because they're going to sit a lot of guys. Remember that on the Bigger 10, we talked about how the BTN crew said it was the most physical practice they've ever seen? Well, Michigan's got some guys banged up, particularly in the secondary. Ohio State, which I think has lost to Indiana twice in like the last 50-something years, is my number 9-point game. I'm going to go 8 points with the Hawkeyes over Utah State, who were really good 2 years ago, struggled last year, lost their quarterback recruit to the transfer portal. My 7-point game is Wisconsin over Buffalo. They've actually had the best recruiting class in the MAC 2 years in a row. So now I don't think they're going to beat Wisconsin, but I could see them being a sleeper in the MAC as we get into October, November. Penn State over West Virginia is my 6-point game. I mean, West Virginia is still a Power 5 team. We're acting like, they're playing, Towson. Michigan State over Central Michigan is my 5-point game. There have been plenty of years. Michigan State always starts this on a Friday night against a MAC team. Plenty of years, man, where they play with their food before they eat it. So I wouldn't do anything with the point spread in that game, but I'm going to take Sparty to win. 4 points with Illinois over Toledo, the clear MAC favorite. And Illinois is breaking in a new quarterback and some new guys at the skill positions. My 3-point game is Minnesota over Nebraska. Just a lot of questions for both teams. I'm going to go with Rutgers over Northwestern. As a 2-point game, I'm just not going higher because I think Northwestern is going to give its best effort in this game. It's had all offseason be told, you suck, your coach should be fired, your program shut down, you guys are terrible. And this might be the only conference game they remotely have a chance at winning. Whatever Northwestern's best shot is, I think Rutgers will get it on Sunday. In the 1-point game, I'm going for the upset. Fresno State over Purdue, strictly on the point spread alone.
A good program in Fresno State.
And Fresno State is a good program.
They're my favorite post-10 p.m. team every year.
Now, they lost an outstanding quarterback, but Jeff Tedford, people forget, Jeff Tedford had Cal without Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, ranked number 2 in the country at one point. The guy is a really good football coach. I think he's got a huge coaching advantage in this game over Ryan Walters. And then for my point spread, I'm going to take a total. Michigan loves to show off in these home games against scrubs. I think Michigan might hit this total itself. And I also think East Carolina is going to get a touchdown or two.
Yeah, if you're putting some backups in the secondary late in the game.
I was just going to say that. There's going to be some breakdowns in the secondary. I know East Carolina lost a ton on offense, but they still have a coach that knows how to scheme it up. I think they'll get 14, 17 points, and I think Michigan's going to hit at least 40 itself. So I'm going to take perfect weather, low 80s. I'm going to take Michigan, East Carolina to go over 52 as my best bet.
Well, all right, cool. I do have some variance in week one. It's the best team in the league. Got to put them in your most confident slot, I should say, whatever a slot is. 11 points for Michigan over East Carolina. Number 10, Maryland over Towson, because what is a Towson? Number 8, Ohio State over Indiana. I just can't see. I know we've got a lot of questions about Ohio State, but there are even more about Indiana, substantially more about Indiana. Number 8, I've got Wisconsin over Buffalo. Buffalo is, a few years ago, they were a decent MAC team. Don't really know what we've got with them this year. And Wisconsin, I think, is going to be eager, especially offensively, to show, hey, we're different and this is working. Number 7, I've got Iowa over Utah State. This point spread keeps going up, by the way. I think at one point, it opened at like 20.5. It's up to like 24, 25 now.
Yeah, with a total of like 45.
Yeah. So that's, I think, Utah State, I don't think is going to be good this year at all. Number 6, I've got Illinois over Toledo. This is kind of, I know you selected them at your 4 slot as well. I think Brett Bielema, I think he's ready to make a statement, and that I think begins in week 1. Number 5, I've actually got Nebraska over Minnesota.
Oh, there you go.
Doing the first week 1 upset. I think he could struggle the rest of the season. I think he's really rearing and ready to go. I think this entire team is ready for the new era. It's not going to be an easy win over Minnesota, but that's my upset pick for the week. Number 4, I've got Penn State over West Virginia. To me, and I'll explain this more in a little bit, to me, this game goes one of 2 ways, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Number 3, I've got Purdue over Fresno State. It's still a Mountain West team. Still my favorite Mountain West team. But this is 11 a.m. across the country at Purdue. And so I think Purdue should be able to handle business. It could be close by the end, but I do think they should be able to pull away late. Or not pull away, but at least win late in the game. Number 2, I've got Michigan State over Central Michigan. The reason I've got it so low is, I'm not really trusting Central Michigan here, but I don't really trust Michigan State very much at all either. So I'm not super confident. And then number 1, I've got a mild upset of Northwestern over Rutgers. If there is any win one for the Gipper that no longer works for this institution, I think you're probably going to see that in this week against Rutgers, a team that they at least should be able to trade blows with for a little while. And then in my bonus pick, I've got West Virginia, Penn State under 50.5. I mentioned this yesterday. Drew Allar, a lot of people really high on him, and rightfully so. He looks the type. He's built for this. A lot of people raving about him. In the limited action we saw him last year, he looked pretty good. He's not an automaton. He is a college football player who is still, I don't even think, 20 years old yet. Maybe he is 20 years old, but I don't think he's even 20 years old yet. There are going to be some growing pains. I think when it comes to West Virginia, their coach, this is kind of his probably last hurrah. So I think they're going to throw everything against the wall against Penn State. So I think this game either goes one of 2 ways. Everything we've heard about Penn State is true, and even more so, and they just freaking kill these guys right out the gate. Or there are some growing pains with the quarterback position, most important position on the field, and West Virginia throws everything against the wall and kind of keeps it close until the 4th quarter. That's the way I think this game is going to go. I do think Penn State kind of pulls away in the 4th quarter, but I do think it will be interesting within 1 or 2 scores for most of the game, and I don't see this going over the total of 50.5.
Well, if my math is right, we have 11 points in just disagreements.
Yep.
Not even counting the games where maybe we have the same team, but a different amount of points. So given how anemic overall for compelling matchups this week 1 schedule is, that's a lot of variance, man. So this is going to be fun. Good stuff.
Hopefully.
All right, that'll do it for our confidence picks for week 1. Don't forget to join us on the channel next week. Full slate now. Michigan podcast, Bigger 10, confidence picks, all of it right here each week on the channel. Until then, thank you for tuning in.